Hey guys, so today, for the first time in maybe several years, I don't even know how long, I have a video tutorial for you. So, I think it was a couple weeks ago that I posted this on my Instagram that I was going to make him, and it's BB-8. He took quite a while to make, and it was, for a video tutorial it takes a little longer to make it just because it requires you to videotape yourself making the doll, and if you make a mistake you're going to have to redo it again. So he took quite a while to make and edit, and I had to do the voiceover and stuff like that. He was pretty fun to make actually, just because I haven't made anything this detailed in a while, and I really love the movie, and BB-8 is so adorable, and so when I saw him in the movie, I really wanted to make him. I did follow several images of him. I had to Google a lot of images just because I didn't know what the panels looked like, didn't know how many panels he actually had. And the detailing, I tried to do as much detailing as I could. I wanted to color and make it look like he was rolling around in the desert, but I just could not find the best way to do it, so I just did the lines with the sewing thread. I kind of just doubled it up. I don't know if you guys can tell. Yeah, I doubled it up, and it was one of those thicker ones, not those cheap ones that you get in those free kits, or I forget where you get them. But anyway, yeah, and then this I used wire, and all of this I kind of explained in the video, and I do have the written tutorial down in the comments below on my blog, so you're gonna have both of those, and hopefully that will be easier for you guys to follow. Some parts were a little harder to explain, like putting in the antenna and stuff like that, so if you guys have any questions, like I said, please ask me down below in the comments, and I hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. First, we're going to start with white yarn, and you're going to do 6 single crochet in the magic circle. And if you need a video tutorial on this, I do have a video tutorial, but I did it a while back, so it might not be as clear. If you watch it and you don't think it's as clear and you want me to redo it, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll do that for you. In this tutorial, I'm using all red heart yarn. The size of my hook is F5, so I pretty much use red heart yarn and this size hook for all of my projects. Here I'm going to keep track of my increases or my rows with a marker, and I'm using yarn for my marker. I always use yarn because I don't really feel the need to go buy a marker from the store because yarn is easily available. It's just so much easier to do it this way for me. So usually I add a marker right after the 6 single crochet in magic circle. This actually makes it easier for me to keep track of where I am, like if I get distracted or I have to quickly do something. This way, if I forget where I am, I can actually count where I am from where the marker started. So I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. I've been trying to explain it this entire time, trying to find the words that is a little easier for me to convey what I'm trying to explain. When you actually count from where you first put the marker and from the first row, like after you do the 2 single crochet in each stitch, if you count from there, you can see that each row actually corresponds to how many stitches you do before you do the 2 single crochet in the next stitch. I don't know if that makes sense, but it works for me, and you guys can use the markers any way you like, but if you'd want more explanation about what I'm actually talking about, feel free to ask me in the comments below. And then here you can see I finished doing all of the increases, and now I'm just going to do one single crochet in each stitch, and then we're gonna keep on going until we reach our desired length, which is about 13 rows. Once you've finished all your rows, you're going to start decreasing. I tried to find out how many rows I actually need. I was going to go 12, but then I thought that would be too short, so I went 13. And so now I'm decreasing from here. And then later on, you'll see how I'm going to sew the gap. When you see the gap getting smaller and smaller, you can start to stuff the doll. I put quite a bit of filling in the doll just because I didn't want him to be flimsy. It's different for different dolls. I guess it depends on what you want the doll to be used for. This one is just going to be kind of a display kind of thing. I'm not going to have anyone play with this or anything like that. It's not going to be a gift. But if you guys want it to be soft for gifts, for kids and stuff, feel free to add less stuffing. I added a lot, as you can see. As you get closer and closer to the top, I just keep on adding. You can see how I'm trying to shape it as I'm adding the stuffing. So if you haven't made a doll before, it's really hard to shape your work right after stuffing the doll, because you have this vision in your mind that you want it to be a sphere, but then as you're stuffing it, you're like, it looks a little wonky, it looks a little weird. But after a while, as you're working with it, it goes the way you want it to go. So once you reach the end where the gap is really small, this is where you're going to crochet 2 stitches together. When you're at the very end of your decrease, you can see how the gap is really small for you to sew together. And then you're going to make a small knot and try to hide your work try to hide your yarn, the loose end, into your work like I'm doing here. This is how I do it. I'm not sure how other people have been doing it, but actually when I first started, I didn't really look up to see how people would do this, but this is how I've been doing it this entire time. So this is how I'm hiding my loose end. Now that the base of the body is done, you get to create the panels, the circular panels that go around the body. I actually didn't know that there were 6 panels. I had to look this up because at first I thought there were 4. And so I looked it up, and there's actually 6. So I made the panels in a way that the middle part is white, and around the border there's 2 rows of gold. So make 6 of these. Here you can see that I've made 6 of them already, and I'm looking up on my phone. I actually Googled images to see what details I have to put in the middle of these panels, because I know that there are details, but I just didn't know what they would look like, and I wanted to make it look close to what they're supposed to be. And I know embroidering on yarn is pretty hard if it's not like this gigantic piece and we're only working with these little circles. Try your best to follow what it's supposed to look like by embroidering it like I'm doing here. I first started with the outside part with the gold, I don't know what they're called, gold things on the inside, and there's 4 of them. So we're going to do this for all of the 6 panels. Then after you finish the gold part, we're going to work on the inside. And as you can see when you're doing this, I tried to center the gold parts as best I could, and I actually made 2 parts of it a little bigger, just because I knew that it was going to be hard to actually fit the gray detailing if it was smaller. As you can see here, I'm looking on my phone for what the detailing looks like, so I'm trying to follow it as best as I could, and I'm using gray yarn. And some of this actually has little dots of color in it, like red or blue, so I added that after. And here I'm showing you how I am embroidering it, and I apologize if it's dark. I didn't realize until after that the screen brightness from my phone is kind of messing up the video, so it looks a little bit dark, but I think you guys know the gist of how I'm embroidering the details on the panels. After you finish the detailing in the panels, you can now sew it onto the body. And I kind of eyeballed this. Start with one side and then put one of the panels right directly behind it, so on the opposite side. And that's pretty much how I did the panels. Try to center it as best as you can. You could actually also measure it if you wanted to, but I was way too lazy to do that, which I probably should have, because it's a little, like, when I looked at it after I sewed it, I'm like, it's not really too centered, but after you add the detailing, you can't really notice anything. So measuring is probably your best bet. So measure and don't do what I do, which is eyeballing it. As you can see here, I've already finished the base of the head, and I'm going to add the detailing on top of it as I go along. I did not think that it would look as clean if I actually added the rows while I was making the head, so I'm making it separately. So first I'm going to start with a chain for the top part, and then I actually make a ring. So after making the ring, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each of the chains until you have 30 single crochets, and then you're going to increase for 1 more row. And then after you finish off, you can sew this on top of the head to create that silver ring that you see, or the silver gray ring that you see in the pictures. And for the bottom part, I am going to insert some yarn at the bottom, probably just 1 or 2 rows above from the very bottom of your work, as you can see here. So here you're going to be working in between the individual stitches and creating a slip stitch all the way around. And here you can see I've created the bottom piece for the head, where you're going to sew it after you've done the detailing, as you'll see in later footage. And I've also created the eyepiece and that other eyepiece. I don't actually know what it's called, but I added some detail, a little bit of red and some white to make it look a little more alive and not just so black. Since black yarn is a little thicker, it's hard to make it a little smaller, so some of the detailing kind of suffer a little bit because of that. After you've sewn the eyes, you can now do the gold detailing, the gold ring that goes around the bigger eye. And I did this exactly the same way as I did the bottom row. After that, I went ahead and did the detailing at the bottom of the head with all the gold squares. And you're just going to follow the pictures. I did add some pictures on my on the pattern on my website, and that link is going to be down below. So pretty much I just followed like the shapes and sizes that were going to be at the bottom part. After that, you're going to add more detailing. I actually used some brown sewing thread to add more detailing to it. As you can see here, I did some detailing around the eyes and some on the back. Here I'm adding the antennas that go on the back of his head, and it was hard at first to figure out what I'm going to do with that or what I'm going to use for that. And I use one of the decorative flower things, I don't know what it's called, to make the antennas. And there are two, one taller one and one smaller one. So I cut the wires accordingly. And the first one I wrapped some black yarn on the top, and then the middle part of it is white. The bottom part is black. And here I'm showing you how to make the smaller antenna. I tried my best to show you guys. It's really hard to show it just because of the angle and how I set up my video camera. It's a little hard just because the video camera is right behind me and I'm sitting underneath it, and I'm kind of like looking up above me to see if I can, to make sure that I'm in the frame. And as you can see later, I'm actually adding some white tissue paper behind me so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. And pretty much I am putting the metal part up from the inside part. As you can see, there's coils around it. If yours doesn't have any coils, you can definitely add some with some pliers, and this just keeps it secure so it doesn't come back up. And then I'm using white yarn and putting it through the inside, like through the top part. I bent the top of the wire so that I can tie my yarn and secure it at the top, so when I wrap around the white yarn, it's not going to come off. This is pretty much how I did it, and I hope you guys can see it clearly. Let me know if you have any questions of how I made this, and I will try my best to explain it to you. After adding the antenna, I went ahead and stuffed the head and sewed it together. As you can see, I stuffed it quite a bit just because I wanted the bottom to stick out a little bit, because when you look at images of BB-8, you can kind of see the underside of his head and it's not completely flat. So that's what I did for the head. And then the body, I added some more lines for detailing using the same brown thread I did for the head part. So after that, I decided to sew the head on the least attractive part of the doll, of the body part. After this, if you want to add detailing, you can, because when you look at images of BB-8, he is not completely white. He's actually dirty just because he's been rolling around in the sand in the desert. So I actually tried to go look to see if I had any colored pencils, but I could not find any. And I didn't feel like rummaging through the closet just because that closet is stuffed. Oh my goodness. I probably will go to Michael's or AC Moore or Joann or something and buy a set of colored pencils just so I could add the shading around the panels and just pretty much make him look like he's been rolling around in the desert. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did to make BB-8. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it was easy to follow. Like I said, I do have images on how to make the panels in the description below. I mean the link to my website. I'm gonna post all of that down below, and I hope you guys found this enjoyable to make and easy to follow. I am planning on making more tutorials in the future. I'm not sure if they're going to be this complicated. So let me know what you guys think of the tutorial down in the comments below. So that's pretty much it for BB-8. I hope you guys liked the tutorial, and if you guys have any questions or any suggestions for any more tutorials in the future, please comment down below. And this has been Golden Jelly Bean. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching. Bye.